There's nothing more inspiring than hearing real people overcome real challenges to get the results they want, especially when those are the same results you'd like to see in your own life. That's why in this bonus episode, we are going deep with another incredible success story. Welcome to the Feel Better, Live Free podcast brought to you by Thinlicious. I'm your host, Ruth Sukup, and here we'll talk about everything from the science of weight loss to practical tips for making your health a priority in the midst of a busy life. It's a little bit nerdy, a little bit funny, and a little bit revolutionary. So buckle up, friend, because it's about to get real. Hey there, and welcome back to the Feel Better, Live Free podcast. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ruth Sukup, and I'm the founder of Thinlicious and the creator of the Thin Adapted System, as well as the New York Times bestselling author of 7 books. And in this special bonus episode, we are taking another deep dive into what transforming your life through adopting the Thinlicious lifestyle actually looks like by sitting down to chat with another one of our amazing clients, Stephanie Molina. Stephanie first joined our program in 2022 and successfully lost 35 pounds, then kept it off for more than 2 years. But then, like it does for so many of us, life happened. But a bump in the road doesn't have to mean a total derailment, and for Stephanie, it hasn't been. But as always, it's better to hear her story in her own words. So here's what she had to say. Stephanie, thank you so much for chatting with me today. I'm so excited to hear your story.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Well, let's just start with a little background. So tell us a little about yourself, who you are, where you live, family situation, all the things.
Okay. I'm Stephanie, obviously Stephanie Molina. I'm 57 years old and I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico, beautiful desert. I spent the last 40 plus years being married to my high school sweetheart.
Aww.
And raising 3 children and working in education. I've been a classroom teacher, a homeschooling mom, and currently run my own business as an early childhood program specialist. I will help owners and directors of early childhood programs with their quality. So hopefully helping them earn a better bottom line.
I love that. I love that. That's a great thing to help people with. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your health journey and how that has gone. And let's just start at the beginning. So how did you get started on this journey, especially with TAS, and what has happened?
Yes. So health has always been a part of my life. I was luckily raised with a mother who was very into health and nutrition. So that's kind of how I was raised and how I was raising my own children. I always thought I was eating very well. I think compared to a lot of people, think I probably did eat very well and did feed my children very well. And I didn't allow my children to have like artificial dyes and things of that nature. But my personal story, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis when I was only 12 years old, back in 1978, when it wasn't even cool back then to have Hashimoto's.
I was Hashimoto's before it was a thing.
Yeah. But I was very young and I hadn't grown since I was 8. And so when I was 12, my mother, with lots of doctors in between, said something's got to be wrong. At any rate, all those years after that, spent the next however many plus years, I'm 57, so 40, what is that, 45 years, being diagnosed with lots and lots of autoimmune issues. I think my current diagnosis list is like 14: collagen vascular, autoimmune, and all of that sort of thing. So my whole life has been that, and being ill, and like if I didn't wake up in pain, I would think I'm probably dead because because it was just a part of my life. And lots and lots of medications, and there have been lots of frustrations along the way, like, maybe I should just give up all medications. I'm just going to stop all my medications and maybe then I'll feel better, like, because you
Mhm.
start to think that maybe the drugs are making you sick. And,
Yeah.
anyway, that journey for many years. And granted, I was living my life. I was having children, homeschooling, working, all the things. So, just kind of had become part of my lifestyle. My husband encouraged me to go gluten-free a lot, and I was like, "Nope, I'm already living this painful life. Why would I do that to myself? I love
Mhm.
food." And I did think we were eating fairly healthy, so I kept denying that, and he had read that that might help with some of my symptoms, with the autoimmunity, but I kept saying no. And then, as luck would have it, I was diagnosed with celiac sprue, or celiac disease, which is
Mm.
also autoimmune.
Mhm.
And so I was forced to go gluten free. And I quickly learned that you can learn to enjoy food and still be gluten free. And I learned to cook and bake and um, go out to restaurants and go to parties and not be deprived. Deprivation was a big key issue for me.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go without. And so that turned out to be very good. I started to feel so much better. I started to wake up not in pain and
Wow.
still be alive. So
Yeah.
um, that was a real bonus. And I started to feel so much better on that. But also with autoimmunity can come early menopause, which I did have. And so that also didn't present too many problems for me. I was menopausal for quite some time, but all of a sudden in like 2020, I just started packing on the pounds. And weight was never an issue for me. I was never heavy. I never fought with my weight or struggled in any way with that. So this was really new to me, this feeling my thighs when I walked, like
Yeah.
things like not feeling good in my clothes, feeling awful. And I started to think, what the heck? Um, At the time, I chalked it up to COVID. I was working an insane amount of hours. I was trying to run 3 very large childcare centers in the middle of COVID with strict restriction, regulations and all the things. And I wasn't eating well and wasn't sleeping.
Yeah.
I just
Your
thought,
cortisol was through the roof.
right. And everybody's like, oh, it's COVID. Oh, everybody's gaining
Mm.
weight during COVID. Da, da, da. Um, and then it didn't stop. Even when things settled down with that, it didn't stop. And then I ended up being hospitalized again and for some of my issues. And then I got shingles and all these things started happening. So I quit my job. It's like, I'm going to do this uh, Elite Blog Academy. And I'm going to do what I've always wanted to do, which is have an online business and blog and do all the things. So I'm quit my job. I thought that'll give me the opportunity to eat better and sleep and be healthy. And that didn't work either. Um, I still was sick and kept packing on the pounds. My doctors just kept giving me the shoulder shrug. They'd say, well, at your age, and maybe you should try the Mediterranean diet. And, maybe, they just didn't have any advice or words of wisdom or anything.
Mhm.
Um, and then Thinlicious came about, and it was
Dun
just
dun dun dun.
right. It was perfect timing. It was, you know, always saying God's perfect time, but I was at my wit's end, and Thinlicious came out, and there were two things about it that, because I was given the opportunity because I was already in your circle with EBA,
Mhm.
um, but there were two things that sold me on it, and one was zero deprivation because
Mm.
I don't like to be without good food. And
Right.
and my husband struggles with his weight a lot. And I've watched him yo-yo all the time with Weight Watchers and keto and all these things. So I was like, I don't want to do keto. I don't want to be without food. I don't, so zero deprivation. And I'm easily overwhelmed with new plans. So one of the things that was offered through TAS was the 28-day metabolism reset, where we
Mhm.
had the the meal plan with the recipes like done for you.
Yep.
That's what I needed.
All set.
I didn't want to order all these books off of Amazon and try to figure it all out on my own. So sold. And that's when I started Thinlicious.
Oh, so what happened?
Well, actually, it was wonderful. I actually lost 35 pounds. I made it to phase 2 pretty quickly, really fairly quickly, and lost 35 pounds, kept it off for 2.5 years.
That's amazing.
And once I got to phase 2, it was I was fairly I was able to like have french fries once in a while or have chips once in a while without derailing my whole plan. Like
Mhm.
it was really
Like you were more metabolically flexible.
yes, I could have some of those things once in a while without. So which even more so helped the zero deprivation piece of it. My cholesterol went way down. I lowered my thyroid replacement. I got off some of my medications. My lymphedema resolved. My legs that were always like
Wow.
so full of fluid all the time, and I had to wear garments and all that. I don't wear my garments anymore. Like so much of my health improved, and my doctors were completely flummoxed. They didn't know what to think about that,
Huh.
but they were also very intrigued and pleased with
Yes. Did it help
so
your husband too?
yes, we did it together.
Oh,
Yep.
that's amazing. And
Yes.
he loved the
Yep.
food.
Oh, all the food. It's so good. And one of the things we always did with our children, we called it a deli tray because like you'd go to a party and have like a deli tray with meats and cheeses and all of that.
Mhm.
Well, we have deli tray all the time, and we always used to feed that to our children because they thought it was a party tray and they would eat very
Yeah.
well. And so that was kind of always a thing. Well, that fits perfectly with keto to do
Yep.
deli trays. So that was easy, but yes, all the food. We still use the 28-day metabolism cookbook that came out in the very beginning. It's like water warped and the pages are, messy. We use it all the time. We still use those recipes all the time. They're some of our basic go-tos.
Yeah.
But now we're empty nesters, so we don't make as much food, but anyway, so yeah, my health improved, his health improved. He doesn't, it he when he would do the hard keto, it was so easy for him to fall off of it because it wasn't it didn't have some of the flexibility and the other things that come with TAS.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right. Because our program, there's a ketogenic aspect, but we don't consider it keto. We like to be very
Right.
clear about that. There is
Yeah.
a ketogenic aspect, especially in phase 1, but then it's really about getting your body to become more metabolically flexible so that you can handle a bigger variety of food.
And just like I learned to cook and eat, bake and shop gluten free, it was then fairly easy for me to realize that I could do the same thing with
Yeah.
keto, with
Yeah.
not with keto, with
With Thinlicious.
TAS.
Yeah.
Yes, with Thinlicious, that I could read labels just like I have to already and just look for different things and learn about all the proper things. And I bake quite a bit. I
Yeah.
find with all the approved ingredients, and some people can't even tell.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
It's
great.
amazing. You can make such amazing, amazing food.
Yeah.
So your journey has been a little interesting though. So you lost 35 pounds, you kept it off for 2.5 years, but then What happened?
But then
But then life happened.
life happened and I gained back 10 pounds.
Mhm.
Right now I'm at 8 pounds back, but because we've been working on it. But yes, we've been so incredibly blessed. We had our last two children graduated from college, and this is all in the last 14 months. We had two college graduations and two weddings, and
Oh,
our son got married and our daughter got married, and just all the showers and the parties and the receptions and all the things and the travel. Our daughter lives in Phoenix. So back and forth and In-N-Out Burger and
yes.
all the
All the
things.
things.
We just had a great time, I could say. And people are so kind and so generous and so sweet, and they would be like, we made these gluten-free cookies for you, and we made these gluten-free
Oh,
this is gluten-free and this is gluten-free, and I part I partook in all of it. Like it was so delicious. And one of my guilty pleasures, and this is probably this I probably shouldn't even say it out loud, but I do love Coca-Cola.
mm,
And when I'm on a road trip, I especially like to have a Coca-Cola, but that is almost instantaneous. Instantaneous, you can see a change in my
yeah.
gut level about when I have a soda, but I do love soda. So I tended to excuse myself a lot to have a soda when we were road tripping back and forth to Phoenix all the time for wedding planning. So, yeah, all that's finished. We are back on track. We're home. We're settled. We're not going anywhere this year. Um, all the nieces and nephews getting married have happened also in the last 14 months. We traveled to 3 other weddings besides our own
Wow.
children.
Yeah.
And I know you mentioned that too recently, that you have a lot of that happening.
Yes. 7 weddings this year.
It's just a season of life that we're in with our
Yes.
children and their friends and our siblings' children and all that. So, but that's all finished for the foreseeable future. And yeah, we're back on track. So
That's amazing.
yeah,
So you came back to TAS
came back to yeah because
recently.
it's already ingrained. So like I never really left per se, but
Mhm.
I find that going back and listening to podcasts, listening to, going back in and listening to things and helps get your brain back in gear. But
Mhm.
also it was 2.5 years already of eating that way, cooking that way, baking that way. It's easy to pull those recipes out and go, okay. And it's easy. It makes shopping so much easier because you walk right past all the things,
Yeah.
and you just like, yeah, that's not even an option right now. And
Yeah.
I'm not planning any parties. So we don't have to have chips in the house and all the things. So
Yeah.
it's easy to get back on the wagon, I
Yeah.
could say.
So did you miss like the support, the community, the trainings? Like what was it that kind of made you go, "Oh, I want to get back into this," or
It
just
was just
feel
how I
like
felt. It was just
over
how I like
overall?
my clothes aren't
Yeah.
fitting. I'm not feeling great. I'm starting to have that afternoon slump again. Just all those things that come with
Mhm.
not eating as well. And even my husband started taking naps in the afternoon. We both work from home. So it's like we just like go lay down for a few minutes, like that afternoon slump where you just
Yep.
can't get through. But
Yep.
when you're feeling better and eating better, there was never like I had so much energy.
Yeah.
And as you might know, with autoimmune is a lot of fatigue.
Mhm.
And when I started eating right, the fatigue went away. So to have that feeling come back where I'm feeling sluggish and not wanting to do anything, it's
Mhm.
really more about the way I felt more than the social aspect of it. But I find that like this past weekend, working in the yard for several hours, I was just listening to your podcast and stuff to try to get back into the mindset of, yes, you can feel better. you can do this.
Yes.
It's doable. You just gotta get back into
Got to
the
keep at it.
mindset. Mhm.
I notice that too, because I'll have times, like because life, it does get crazy and it gets in the way. And I think the benefit of healing your body is that you do have that metabolic flexibility. And thank goodness, like you did have that to carry you through 14 months is a long time
Right.
to kind of be off track, right? And yet I mean, really only gained 10 pounds back versus gaining it all back and then some.
Exactly.
And so but I noticed that too, like it's not for me so much the weight gain when I kind of like have a few weeks of vacation or just being a little bit slack with what I'm eating and stuff. It's that I feel it. I feel the lack of energy and the sluggishness and the inflammation. And I'm like, oh, I
Yep.
don't like feeling like this. I like feeling good and having all the
Exactly.
energy. And that's always the motivation for me to get back on track too. So I totally hear that.
Mhm.
So like, I mean, I think the fact that you have recognized that and that you're like, okay, I know what I need to do. I'm getting back on track. It's working again. Like I feel good again. I feel good in my body. I'm motivated again. What advice would you give somebody who's like still kind of in that beginning stages of just, I don't even know if I can do this, right? I feel overwhelmed. I don't know where to start. I don't know how to do this. I don't know, like, I don't want to give things up. I don't want to give up gluten, or I don't want to give up, right? Like, there's all these mental blocks that we put on ourselves of why this isn't a good time. Like, what would you say?
That's a great question. I remember when I first went gluten-free, all I ate for like the first 3 weeks was salad because I couldn't wrap my head around trying to figure the whole thing out. So
Yeah.
one would be to utilize your resources, definitely. Like if there's a done for you, just get it and find the things that sound good to you and make it. So one of the things that I would recommend is easy things like, for example, a deli tray or making some snacks ahead of time to pull out. Cause that was the other thing. When I was hungry, I didn't want to be like, well, I can't because I already had something,
Mhm.
that in the beginning when it it talks about the program suggests, if you're hungry, eat.
Yes.
I did that. If I was hungry, I ate because I didn't want to be deprived and it still worked. So without going overboard, I would say make things ahead of time that you can pull out of the fridge. Maybe
Mhm.
the celery with the cream cheese and the everything sprinkle.
Yeah.
Great snack, delicious. It satisfies the crunch and the need to chew, but it's also got a lot of flavor. So,
Yeah.
it's very satisfying. Those sorts of things, maybe some, ham roll-ups or whatever, like just
Yeah.
really easy things to grab. Um, make for me, because I love sweets, having something sweet that was allowable on the program was another thing that I did.
Mhm.
I kept those handy so that when I did want a little nibble, I could have some and not,
Yep.
derail everything.
That's great advice. I still
Um,
I still do that. I always
mhm, me
have
too.
snack balls and snack bites and all sorts of different stuff in the fridge, and they keep for a long time, like
Yeah.
4 to 6 weeks. So then you just make them every couple of weeks. And yeah, I like having something to nibble to when I get the munchies.
Yeah. So those were my big ones. Also to listen to the recordings so that it stays ever present.
Mm,
That to remind you that it's all for a good cause.
the lesson.
I also use before you had your app, I used the Lose It app,
Mhm.
and that also was really good for me because it's easy to kind of go, well, it's just this one little bite, but it
Yeah.
actually just to know how it's adding up so you can
Mhm.
see. So if you're not keeping track and then you're also not making progress, it's probably because I watched my husband over justify things like, well, I only had one, or I
Yeah.
only had, but it adds up.
It does. It does. Yeah, the tracking is definitely key, especially if you're in weight loss mode and really wanting
Hmm.
to lose weight. The
Mhm.
tracking helps a lot.
Mhm.
Do you plan out your kind of meals at the beginning of the day and what you're gonna eat for the whole day, or do you just do it kind of a little at
Um,
a time?
I keep a lot of things handy, like the celery and the cream cheese and the deli tray items, but
Mhm.
we plan out our dinners
Gotcha.
for the whole week,
Yeah,
and we do one shop, kind of like you do. We don't do
yeah,
it on Sundays per se, but we do one shop and we plan out the whole week.
yep.
Um, and it's been easy to manipulate, because it's Lent and we're Catholics, so we don't eat meat on Fridays.
Hmm.
Easy to do, like the fried fish with the uh,
Oh,
chicharrones or whatever we call
yeah, the
those.
pork rind crumbs.
Yes, the pork rind crumbs. Like, so easy to adapt some of
Mhm.
those things for what you're
Yeah,
making.
yeah, yeah, nice.
Yes.
Well, Stephanie, any final words of advice or words of wisdom you wanna share?
Uh, just stick with it because the payoff is in the end.
I love that.
Yeah, it's definitely you if you can just stick with it. And if I can do it, anyone can do it because I love food. But I do not feel deprived and there's so many delicious things you can enjoy. And I had so many health problems that I've seen get better and been able to improve my health so much, which was not what I initially set out to do.
Yeah,
Um, but it's been very, very eye-opening and it was worth it.
that's amazing. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much for sharing your story.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Of
It was a
course.
pleasure.
Don't you just love Stephanie's story and her attitude? It's so good. It's so inspiring. And it always reminds me that if she can do it, you can too. So that brings me to the end of this bonus episode, but I will be back with another new episode very soon.